Do I still believe that Chainlink's native token called Link could hypothetically reach the price of $200 during this bull run? I don't see why not. Even though nothing I say is financial advice, the way to take a look at it is that Chainlink is too special of a project for that maybe not to happen. And let me explain very simply what Chainlink is all about because I think it's so special. Keep in mind, when it comes to Chainlink, it's very well known for its decentralized Oracle network. Now, some people may be thinking, okay, who cares about a decentralized Oracle network? What is even an Oracle? Now, let me explain. An Oracle, in this case, it's basically a data feed that brings data from off the chain, aka off-chain data, and it brings that data over into the blockchain. Now, people may be wondering, okay, why is this even necessary to begin with? Because without this process, quite essentially, right, many decentralized applications out there, they simply wouldn't be able to function properly. So again, we know a lot of decentralized applications out there. Again, many of them that we do know and love, right? They can't function without this off-chain data. So then something like Chainlink is very crucial in my opinion. It's very fantastic. And if we think about it, when it comes to projects that are focused on this kind of like Oracle market, I would say, there's only pretty much one go-to when it comes to this, and that is Chainlink. There's not like 10 or 20, 30 competitors. And now the number two, arguably, I would say is something called like Pyth, the Pyth network. But then the difference between number one and number two in this case is very massive. Like the gap in terms of the popularity, the attention, and the hype. Chainlink has really become kind of like the solidified market leader within this space. Just think about this, right? If we take a look at XRP, that is the go-to project we think about when we think about, let's say, like payments, global trade, and finance. XLM is number two, but then the gap between XRP and XLM is so massive. So then this is kind of like the way you take a look at Chainlink. Chainlink for me is kind of like the XRP, but for the, Oracle market, I would say. It kind of has that type of vibe where it's kind of like the clear number one. But even besides that point, Chainlink isn't like a one-trick pony in a sense that it's not only just kind of known for its decentralized Oracle network, even though that's the most popular thing people care about. Here's the thing. Chainlink also has something called VRF. Now, VRF stands for Verifiable Random Function, and this right here is basically used for random number generation. Now, random number generation, there's a lot of use cases, like for instance, in video games, again, there's a lot of possibilities, right? But then that's kind of like the most popular example that I think a lot of people think about. So that's really amazing when it comes to Chainlink. Chainlink also has proof of reserve services. Now, what are proof of reserve services, right? I think if someone has been in the crypto space for quite a while, I think they'll know that back then there was like the FTX crash, the one about that nonsense going on, right? And then I think at that point, a lot of people would remember that when that crash did happen, a lot of these exchanges, they came out with proof of reserve, like, data or whatever, right? Because they wanted to showcase that, what? They're holding a certain amount of assets, right? And they're not like, doing some random nonsense behind the scenes. So then something like Chainlink's proof of reserve services, it could be used for exchanges, let's say, for instance, when they want to showcase the amount of assets they're holding, or let's say like, maybe in the case of stablecoin issuers. Again, there's a lot of possibilities here, but that's kind of like also one of the other use cases that Chainlink has. However, not to mention, Chainlink also has something called Keepers. Now, Keepers, right, what it does is that it allows developers to automate certain smart contract tasks and functions that involve off-chain data. So really, when I take a look at Chainlink, it's a very complete project. I get it. It's not necessarily the most cool or interesting. However, it kind of gets the job done. That's the way you take a look at it. But as of right now, some people are saying, oh, wow, Link, it's kind of stagnating and all this. But here's the thing. Altcoins usually, as a worst case scenario, they typically peak around 18 months after a Bitcoin halving event. And the last Bitcoin halving event happened in April of last year, so 18 months from then is actually around October this year. Now, is this going to be a guaranteed date? Absolutely not, because history isn't always necessarily going to repeat itself to an exact T, in my opinion. But the way you take a look at it is this. With the way the market is heading as of right now, I get it, Bitcoin had a slight pullback, but I'm just saying, if this kind of like upwards motion keeps on continuing, right? And let's say we see Bitcoin at 200,000, 250, and let's say eventually 300,000, maybe. Could you imagine if, let's say, at that point, the Bitcoin dominance drops and we see a fully fledged fifth gear type of altcoin season? At that point, $200 when it comes to Link really wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. But again, only time will tell. Whether or not it happens, let's say in December, in October, in January, or whatever, I'm still going to be in the market anyways by just accumulating my favorite projects, holding, and just waiting. That's it. Now, the way you take a look at it is this. why isn't $200, I think, at least in my opinion, too much to ask for when it comes to Link? Because if it were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply and market cap would be around $130 billion. Now that's around a 13x from here. It's not going to be the best upside out there, but the way you take a look at it is that it's not too bad considering how much Link has grown, historically speaking. But why isn't over $100 billion, I think, too much to ask for? Because back in 2021, keep in mind, during the peak of that bull run, there was roughly around 300 million crypto owners. Now we have over 600 million according to Crypto.com research, which is more than ever before in history. Keep in mind again, back then, BNB reached over $100 billion in market cap. So if BNB can reach over $100 billion, why can't Link reach over $100 billion, let's say during this bull run, where the factors are a lot better? In my opinion, take a look at the Bitcoin ETF, the Ethereum ETF, the amount of institutional investors, the amount of enterprise adoption. I just kind of feel like the vibe is better this time around when compared to back then in terms of the bullish sentiment. So I don't think there's too much to ask for. And Chainlink, I think, is trying to do a lot more than BNB. I think BNB is very amazing. BNB chain is absolutely fantastic. But again, we have to take a look at what Chainlink is trying to do. It would only be fair for me to assume that if I believe in this blockchain space, right, and if I believe there's going to be more decentralized applications that are going to pop up moving forward, it would only be fair to assume that Chainlink also has a bright future too, right? Because again, it's helping decentralized applications quite essentially function properly through its, I would assume, again, allegedly decentralized Oracle network. So in my opinion, this is a no-brainer for me. But again, only time will tell. I still believe in Link. And again, when it comes to the idea of $200, that really wouldn't surprise me whatsoever. During this bull run, I think Chainlink is very fantastic. And make sure to subscribe if you gained value from this video. Greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm a peace. Bye.